Hi everyone, welcome to my channel estudy.in. So we'll continue with the patterns, and in this video we'll create this pattern which you can see on your screens. And if you haven't watched my previous video on the pattern, I suggest please do so, because you will have a better understanding if you've seen that video. Okay, so now we'll try to print this pattern. Okay, so as you can see, let's first understand this pattern. So what basically is happening here is we have 5 rows. So a row is horizontal. Okay, so here this is the first row, so this can be the second, and this is the third, this is the fourth, and this is the 5th row. So we have 5 rows, and in each row we can think of these numbers as in different columns. So this is the first number. So in the first row we just have one column. In the second row we have 2 numbers. So first number 1 and then number 2. So basically 2 columns. And in the third row we can take it as 3 columns. In the first row in the first column we have 1, then 2, then 3. Similarly, in the fourth row we have 4 columns having numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th row has 5 columns. So there is a certain pattern here which can be observed, that the number of columns in each row is increasing. So if it is first row, the number of columns is 1. If it is second row, the number of columns are 2. So if it is the third row, the number of columns are 3. If it is fourth row, the number of columns are 4. And if it is 5th row, the number of columns are 5. So this is why there is a certain pattern which we can observe here. So keeping this in mind, we'll try to write the program. So I'm using BlueJ here. You can use any editor. So we can start with by creating a new class, and let's call it pattern 1. Okay, and we can give any name, and we can open the editor and maximize the screen, and let's remove these comments. We do not need this code, and let's do all the code, do away with all the code which is given here, and change the return type of the method to void, and let's change the name of the method. Let's call it cal, and let's remove the argument to this method. Okay, and here we will remove this code, and instead we will write our own code. Now what we have to do is we have to print the pattern. So first I will write the code and then I'll explain it. Okay, so we have int I comma j, and for I is equal to 1, I less than equal to 5, I plus plus, and then we have for j is equal to 1, j less than equal to I, j plus plus, and here we will have system dot out dot print, and we will print j plus we will give a so we'll give a space. Okay, and we'll close the curly brace here, and within this outer for loop we will have system dot out dot print ln, and we will close this for. So this is all the code that is required. Okay, and let's first run it, and then we will understand what is happening here. Let's see if we are getting the right output or not, and we need to compile this program. Okay, so it is compiled. Now what we can do is minimize the screen, and now right click new pattern. Okay, and right click void cal. So you see we are okay. As I told you in the previous video, we need to have an empty line here, because that's what BlueJ does. It inserts a space on its own. So what we'll do is we'll just just before we enter here, we can have system.out.println here. Okay, and let's compile it again, and right click new pattern. Okay, right click, and see we're getting the right output. So if for practical purposes we need to have this line here, this one blank line here, but for theoretically purpose, for example, if you're preparing for your board exams and you get this code, so if you do not write this line, still your code would be okay. Okay, so this is only for practical purposes that you need to have the correct output. That's why we have inserted this line here. Now let's understand this code. What is happening here is, see, this is the output that we want. Okay, we want 1, 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 and 1 2 3 4 5. So what basically we have done is we have 5 rows. So this outer for loop we are using, as I explained in the previous video, we are using a concept of nested for loop. That means a for within another for. So for this pattern we need 5 rows. So this first for loop where we have I is equal to 1, I less than equal to 5, I plus plus, is I here is basically for the number of rows. So because we have 5 rows, so we are starting from 1 and we will continue till 5. Now after that, when I is 1, we enter the for loop, this I is for loop, and then we have another for loop for j. So j is equal to 1, j less than equal to I. Now this is not 1, this is j less than equal to I. What is the value of I? I is 1. So we see that here j is also equal to 1 and I is also equal to 1. So the condition is true, so it prints j. After printing j, it gives a space, and then here j becomes 2. So when j becomes 2, I is still 1. So the condition is false. 2 is not less than 1. So it comes out of the loop. If you notice, we have not given here ln. We have just given print because we want the cursor to remain on the same line. So once we come out of this loop, we want to change the line. Now the cursor goes to the next line. So till now, what is the output that we are getting? So till now the output is, we are getting 1. Okay. So this is the output. Now after that, the cursor moves to the next line after printing 1. So now I becomes 2. So now let's change this. I becomes 2 and j will again start from 1 because this loop was completed. So next time when j comes here, j again becomes 1. So the j becomes 1 here, so the condition is true. So 1 is less than 2. So it prints 1. Then j becomes 2. 2 is still equal to 2. So now it will print 2. So on the second line we get 1 and 2. Now j becomes 3. So the condition is false. 3 is not less than 2. So it comes out of the loop. So that means it changes, it moves to the cursor moves to the next line. So that means we get, after printing 1, we get the second line. That means we get 1 and 1 2. Okay, which is what we want here. So it prints 1 space 2 like this. Okay, so like this it will continue. Then again I becomes 3. So when I becomes, let's remove this code. So I becomes 3. So when I becomes 3, j again becomes 1. So this will, j is less than equal to I. So first it will print 1. Then j becomes 2, it will print 2. Then j becomes 3, it prints 3. Then j becomes 4. So then the condition is false. 4 is not less than 3. So we get the third line, that is we get this 1, 2 and 3, this third line of code. Okay, and after that again, once it completes this in a for loop, the cursor moves to the next line. Okay, and now I becomes 4, j again starts from 1. So I becomes 4 and j starts from 1. So it will print the numbers from 1 to 4. That means 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and after that it comes out, cursor moves to the next line, I becomes 5. And again j starts from 1 and we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is how the nested, this is how the nested loop is working. The only thing we need to understand is whenever we have a loop inside another loop. So here we have this for this loop inside this loop. So this loop will be completed. That means once it completes all the iterations, then only this we move to this outer for loop. So once in the second iteration of this I, again this loop will be started from 1 only. Okay, so this is what we need to remember and understand. Okay, so I hope the video was useful and you liked it, and please don't forget to click on the bell icon and do subscribe to the channel estudy.in if you have not already done so. And thanks for watching, and please do leave your comments. In case you want any other pattern, please let me know. Thanks for watching.